Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to Headspace Diaries, and today we will be talking about the Heinz Dilemma. Once upon a time, actually not that long ago, a question was posed to us in class. A question that haunted us students, not just for the rest of the class, but also for me at least till date. It was a simple question, almost a riddle, asked to introduce the class to the ethics of the different problems that people have. But little did we know that this riddle that we couldn't get out of our heads had also stumped so many others. This was the famous Heinz Dilemma. And if you're not familiar with it, here it goes. A woman was on her deathbed. There was one drug that the doctors said would save her. It was a form of radium that a druggist in the same town had recently discovered. The drug was expensive to make, but the druggist was charging 10 times what the drug cost him to produce. So he paid $200 for the radium and charged $2,000 for a small dose of the drug. The sick woman's husband, Heinz, went to everyone he knew to borrow the money. But he could only get together about $1,000, which is half of what it cost. He told the druggist that his wife was dying and asked him to sell it cheaper or let him pay later. But the druggist said, "No, I discovered the drug and I'm going to make money from it." So Heinz got desperate and broke into the man's laboratory to steal the drug for his wife. Now, should Heinz have broken into the laboratory to steal the drug for his wife? Why or why not? So before we get into what is no doubt very controversial opinions on Heinz's theft, let's hear how this dilemma was born. The Heinz Dilemma is a hypothetical moral scenario created by psychologist Lawrence Kohlberg to study how people reason about right and wrong. If my sources are correct, this would have been first introduced in the 1950s and it became popular in the 1960s. So if you're currently racking your brain trying to find the right answer, let me stop you right now. There is no correct answer. So how did Kohlberg use it? He presented this dilemma to people from different ages and backgrounds and then conducted in-depth interviews about their reasoning. And from decades of research, he identified 3 broad levels of moral development with 2 stages each. Thus, we now have pre-conventional morality, conventional morality, and post-conventional morality. The answer to this dilemma does not matter. Not at all. What matters is the reasoning. Kohlberg focused entirely on the sophistication and the structure of justification. Now, here comes the criticism, and the most influential person to criticize this dilemma was Carol Gilligan. Kohlberg found that females, on average, scored at stage 3, while males at stage 4. So hold up. This doesn't mean that women are less morally developed. It means that the scoring system was biased. Like most of the experiments and studies that I have learned so far in psychology, this too was developed with the male population in mind and their values. Kohlberg's system focused on the justice orientation over care orientation. Gilligan didn't claim either approach was superior. She argued that they represent 2 equally valid moral voices and that any framework claiming to measure moral development needs to account for both. The answer to this question and its justification from other cultures also did not fit into his scoring system. Different cultures work in fundamentally different ways, valuing certain principles above others, and moreover, a deeper study into finding the answer to this question revealed that different philosophical systems, such as Kant's or Jeremy Bentham's, held different answers to be ethically right. So this dilemma has survived for so many years, not because there is a correct answer that one finds when they try hard enough, but because wrestling with this dilemma, one can understand what your own values are and how you view right and wrong. So we understand our human nature, our tendency to value all things, all lives, all creatures by wrestling with this dilemma. So let's hear some of the answers for that people had when we interviewed them.
So that's like a big example of how you listen to your brain and you listen to your heart. As as a person with emotions, I would say he did the right thing, because like if it was my partner who was in her deathbed or something, in his deathbed, I would definitely try to do everything I can to save him. But when you when you think about it more, shouldn't shouldn't like the drug manufacturers manufacture more of it so that everyone in the society can get it equally? So the government plays a big role in that.
It was if we took it in a philosophical way or something, I would be rather be a villain to the whole world and save my loved ones than hero to all the other people and be a villain, like, kill my loved one. But morally and ethically thinking, to save just one person, we cannot put on stake lives of the other 1,000 people out there. So it's very diplomatic, I would say. I don't have a strong stand about that.
What he did.
Stealing is against the law, and it actually violates another person's rights. Even if he is in a desperate situation, taking someone else's property without their permission is not acceptable, and it could undermine the rule of law. And this person, Heinz, should continue seeking some other, he should obtain some other ways to obtain the medicine. Like he could appeal to the druggists to accept in installments, the payment in installments or partial payment, or he can seek the help from some charity institutions or someone, or religious organizations or community groups to help him.
Hi, it's a very difficult question to answer, and I don't think there is a straight answer. We need to see in different perspective, basically. The legal side of it. The legal perspective, actually, the pharmacist has put a very huge margin on that, a very big margin, but which is actually preventing, the commoners to buy such an important drug. This is legally not correct. And other one is the ethical part of it. The ethical part of it is, it's clear that it is not right to steal the drug. Very clear. Whatever the circumstances or whatever the reason, should not steal the drug because it can save many lives. This is other part of it. And then other thing I see is the moral side of it is actually it is it's not right, the word the moral, but the it happens to his beloved actually, and he is trying to save the life of it. And so for him, family is very important, and he steal it, which is again not the right thing. Okay. So this is my way of looking at it. I don't have a one answer to the issue.
Personally, I think there are more than one perspectives that can be applied to this dilemma. So I do think that watching your beloved die is a terrible experience, one that I would not wish upon anyone. And it is incredibly hard to stand back and do nothing when you know that there is an answer or there is a cure out there that can stop this process from happening. And I understand that from his perspective, he did whatever he could to save a life. And at that moment, saving a life or saving the life of his beloved was valued more to him than breaking the law and stealing a drug. But at the same time, had I been the wife, I would not have wanted my husband to become a thief, and I would definitely not have wanted him to value my life over the life of potentially millions of people who would have been suffering from the same illness as I was and who could have benefited from the drug. Because While stealing the drug, not only did Heinz steal the drug just for his wife, but I believe that if the drug had been left with the druggist, he would have been able to make more doses of the drug and sell it to more people who were suffering from the same illness. So I think he kind of deprived the others of their chance at recovery. And had I been the wife, I would not have wanted that to happen. But I understand that from Heinz's perspective, he did what was right to him. But according to the law, okay, the legal perspective, which is completely harsh and it's blind to emotion, would say that what Heinz did was completely illegal. And once you go in front of the court, it would not value one life over the life of many others, because the greater good matters more, apparently. So for the good of one person, we wouldn't sacrifice the good of many others, because the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one, right? So from a legal perspective, this would not have stood trial. But yes, I get from the druggist's point of view as well. Had I been in his place, I would have been devastated, because I spent years and years working on discovering a drug which is a complete miracle in the first place. It is a scientific invention, and it could have solved a lot of problems for me had the druggist been struggling financially. And stealing it deprived not only the druggist of his well-deserved recognition and money and fame, but it also deprived the potential other people who could have stood a chance at recovery. So I do think that this is one perspective. But again, had I been the druggist, I would not have priced a medicine to be this high. I would not have overpriced, or I would not have priced the medicine to be at a higher rate than that which is affordable. Because ultimately, I would have developed it with an intention to cure people in mind, not just to cure the rich and let the poor die. So that was it for our episode on the Heinz Dilemma. What do you think is the answer, or what would your justification be for your answer? What would you do if you were in Heinz's place? Let me know down in the comment section, and please do share it with your loved ones. And yeah, make sure to follow the podcast for more episodes like these. Thank you and have a nice day.